When the Thing visits Reed's lab to find him, he instead stumbles upon a caged symbiote. While gazing into it, Reed interrupts him. However, the Thing cuts him off immediately, reminding him that today is the anniversary of the Fantastic Four. Reed insists he didn't forget, but says he thought Ben would prefer to spend the day alone. But Ben calls him out and accuses Reed of turning him into a monster. But all of a sudden, an alarm blares, and Reed excuses himself, leaving Ben alone with the symbiote. As silence settles, Ben begins sharing his trauma to the symbiote, and in response, the symbiote stirs, as if it understands him. With this, Ben decides to free the symbiote, and it immediately bonds with him just as Reed returned to his lab. Reed then pleads with Ben to remove it, but before Reed can finish, the symbiote grants Ben the ability to transform back into his human form, and although Reed sees this as dangerous, Ben refuses to listen. So Reed decides to fire a sonic blast to separate them, but Ben destroys the weapon and walks out. Soon after, Ben roams the streets of New York, charming bystanders and admiring his reflection. But upon sensing danger, he reverts into the Thing and confronts the Lizard, who tries to manipulate him. The Lizard claims that the Fantastic Four fears him, and only monsters like them truly understand each other, leading the Lizard to make a promise that they can heal the world using his formula and the symbiote. And although skeptical, Ben eventually agrees. Yet upon arriving at the Lizard's lab, Ben is placed into a test tube without any diagnostics, which raises his suspicions. But the Lizard reassures him, then out of nowhere activates high-frequency sound waves that force the symbiote off of Ben's body. With the symbiote in his hands, the Lizard proceeds to leave the helpless Ben inside the test tube while slowly transforming back into the Thing. Meanwhile, at the Baxter Building, an alarm went off as the fully bonded Lizard arrives. And upon his arrival, the Lizard easily overpowers both Reed and Sue, and when Reed attempts to protect Sue, the Lizard brutally slammed his head into the ground, then goes off to gut Sue and bites off Reed's limbs before finally biting off his head right in front of a devastated Ben Grimm. Now overcome with grief, Ben drops to his knees and apologizes to Reed. However, the Lizard mocks him, which only fueled Ben's rage as he tackles the Lizard out of the building. While plummeting, Ben lands brutal blows until the symbiote rejoins him mid-air, and upon hitting the ground, the newly bonded Thing crushes the Lizard's skull, therefore ultimately killing him and forever losing the last piece of his humanity.